Hey guys, it's Balake, and today's commentary is going to be about something a little bit different than I usually do. Usually all my commentaries are actually a little bit different, and I usually start a lot of videos saying I'm doing a commentary that's a little bit different. So maybe I'll just stop saying that altogether, but I'm doing a commentary today, and in this commentary I wanted to talk about college. And since I went through my first year of college last year, I kind of wanted to share with people who might be thinking about going to college or who are going to college next year. I might be able to help them out by telling them a little bit about what college is like. And I really wish that I had had somebody tell me these things before I went to college, although even if you don't have them told you, you will learn them. But it's just nice and it's a little bit comforting to have somebody tell you what it's like, how it's going to be, and help you understand what you might face. So firstly, I wanted to start with orientation, which is probably what you already did or you're going to start with on your first day of school. And I say school in quotations because orientation isn't really school. It's just a bunch of meetings that they show you the campus. You start learning your way around the school. You start meeting friends. And this is a really important time in your social life in college. Now in orientation, you got to make sure you talk to as many people as possible. Even if you're nervous about talking to them, even if you're not sure if they'll like you or whatever, talk to them. There'll be plenty of icebreakers depending on the college. Hopefully they'll have a good system set up for students to meet each other and joke around without knowing each other too well, and that's a good way to make friends. The other good way to make friends is once you're moved in, meet all the people on your hall, or a few of them depending on how outgoing you are, and basically just introduce yourself and talk to them a little bit, and then go from there. It's that simple. It's really an interesting part of your life because in high school, you never have to worry about this sort of thing. You never really have to worry about breaking the ice. You never have to worry about talking to people you don't know that well. You've known those people in high school pretty much all your life, unless they're a new kid, and they get picked on anyway in high school, so that's how that works. But in college, everyone's the new guy. Everyone's the new kid. Everyone doesn't have friends, so you have to really go out of your way to talk to people. And if you don't, you're kind of gonna be left in the dust, and that's just the unfortunate truth of the matter. Now, aside from orientation, there's move-in day, and move-in day sometimes coincides with orientation, sometimes it's after orientation, sometimes it's before orientation, whatever. Move-in day is just chaos. It doesn't matter what school you go to. There will be lots of kids going into their dorm rooms and filling them with all their shit day one, and you'll have to deal with a bunch of parents, telling them what to do and all this and that, and if you have a roommate, you have to deal with that, and I'll get to that later. But move-in day is basically just it's kind of overhyped, I think. Move-in day is the day you go to college, and probably the weirdest part of move-in day for me was driving to college, and it was the fact that I was leaving home for the first time in my life that really, really started hitting me while I was on the drive, and that's what really made me the most nervous. I wasn't so nervous about meeting people. I wasn't so nervous about how I would do in school. I wasn't so nervous about college in general. I was just nervous about living on my own. But once you get moved in, once you get settled in, it only takes for some people it could take months, but for me it only took about a couple weeks, and I felt at home at college, and that was really, really good. And if you don't feel at home at college, then maybe you should consider commuting, or I don't know, you gotta stick through it, because a lot of people experience homesickness. I never really experienced homesickness unless I was dealing with really a lot of jerky kids who I couldn't get away from, and eventually I figured that problem out on my own. But basically you have to know when it's homesickness and when it's just you're sick of the people you're around. And once you realize you're not really sick of being home, then you'll be perfectly happy at college. Now that brings me to another point, which is dealing with conflicts. And as I said, you're gonna have to deal with jerks and assholes and whatever, douchebags, however you want to call them. You're gonna have to deal with those sort of people who are just overall not pleasant people, or people you just don't like, and that's just a fact of life. That's a fact of college, and you just gotta learn that. And I still gotta learn that because I still get really annoyed when people piss me off a little bit. So I try to. College has helped me keep my cool a lot better with people who aren't so cool in my book. But basically you will be dealing with conflicts all the time in college. Perhaps it'll be your roommate, perhaps it'll be your roommate's friend, perhaps your roommate's girlfriend will like you, something like that, some sort of crazy stuff. Anything can happen in college. There's all sorts of things that can happen, especially on the weekends. And that brings me to the next point. In the weekends, on college campuses, on most college campuses, some college campuses it doesn't happen so much, but on most college campuses, there's going to be a lot of underage drinking and maybe some drug use, and you can get into that if you want. I'm not going to say don't live your life, but you want to try to steer clear of that, at least in the beginning, and for as long as you can, and mostly because that leads to conflict. And I'm not saying don't drink. I'm saying don't do drugs. Drugs aren't good for you. But I'm not saying don't drink. But I'm saying, especially if you're in Canada, fucking drink all you want because you're 18. But basically, alcohol, partying on the weekends, that leads to conflicts. In my experience, that the whole Saturday, nightlife, college, weekend experience led to more conflicts than just regularly being in college did. It was basically either you went out on the weekends and, almost killed yourself drinking, or you chilled with your buds in your room and just hung out and were sort of bored, but at least you weren't making a fool out of yourself. So it's basically up to you how you want to live your college life. I'm not going to tell you guys how to live it because I'm not really some old man who can talk down on people. I'm pretty much your peer. I'm your age. I'm just trying to let you know what it's like. You got to pick, choose what you want to do in college, and you can do as much as you want. They like to tell you, join clubs, join this. I didn't join a single freaking club in my first year of college, and I don't think that really affected me too negatively. So if you're worried about that, if you're worried about the social aspect of clubs and things like that, don't worry too much about that. And basically, don't get too caught up in the party scene, because if you get too caught up in the party scene, you're gonna have some problems in academia or academics or dealing in concerns with your grades, and that's the next thing I'd want to talk about. And basically, it's dealing with classes and professors, and that was one thing I was sort of kind of nervous with going into college because it's different than high school. In high school, you can be really personable with your teacher. You can tell them what you need, what you want, and you can tell them how you need them to teach you, and try to give them as much feedback as you can. In college is a little different. The professors kind of just teach you. They give you the material, you learn it. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with college. Perhaps it's because the college I went to was not a super big college and I didn't have any huge lectures, but the professors were really easy to talk to, and the classes were actually not that hard. If you, in high school, took like advanced level classes or AP classes or whatever they're called, college level classes, then you will have no problem in college, because in high school, they like to give you busy work. In college, you don't even have to worry about that. The only thing you have to worry about is staying on top of your major assignments, and if you do that, you really don't have that much work, and once you get those done, you can easily pass the class. It's no big deal, unless you are a little bit, unless you struggle a little bit with academics, then it could be a little harder, but there's plenty of tutors, there's plenty of help you can get on campus if you ask for it, and that's something your college is probably going to stress when you go there. They're probably going to say, hey, if you struggle in school, go to our tutors, they'll help you out, they'll make sure you don't fail your classes, and that's really cool. That's what most colleges do. If a college isn't doing that, they're really not doing it right, in my opinion. Now, a few more topics before we part ways. One is dealing with eating, and that sort of goes with dealing with friends. And basically, some people like to go eat by themselves, and that's fine. If you love eating by yourself, you'll love college, because that's going to happen. You're not going to always be able to eat with friends. And chances are your friends are always going to want to eat with their friends, and you're always going to want to eat with your friends, but your schedules aren't always going to match up, especially first semester, considering you probably didn't plan your classes in any sort of coordination. So chances are you're going to end up going to lunch by yourself or dinner by yourself, and it's not a big deal unless you're really one of those people who can't be caught by yourself. But if you're alone, nobody's going to pick on you. Nobody gives a shit at college. Maybe your friends will give you a tough time when you get back because you went by yourself, but screw them. It's you ate, you're healthy, and you don't have to worry about eating anymore. It's that simple. Eating is not as big of a deal as they try to as you might make it out to be in your mind. Most people like to go with their friends, but chances are your friends might be a dick 1 or 2 days and be like, hey, I went early, so you're on your own. And in the worst case, if you really absolutely cannot go eat without other people with you, you can go try to make friends. And if you're outgoing enough to go talk to people, anything's possible. And basically, that's about it for, you guys entering college. I hope this commentary helped you guys understand what it's like, or understand that it's not a big deal, because honestly, when I went to college, I thought it was going to be a big deal. Everything was going to be hard. I thought everything was going to be bigger. I thought everything was going to be a little more difficult. I was excited for the change of pace, but I thought everything would be different. It's really not. It's a lot like your life currently in high school. It's just you don't have your mom or your dad or whoever looking after you. It's all you. It's all your decisions, and that's what's great about it. And I hope you guys enjoy college if you're going to college this next semester. And if you're not going to college this next semester, I hope you start looking forward to college, because it's great. And if you don't have the money for college, they have tons of loans and stuff, and if that doesn't work, then that's unfortunate, and that's capitalism. So that's it for this commentary, and I hope I didn't offend anybody with that last statement, but until next time, see you all later.
Punch!